And now we move to the medtech industry, and with me I have CEO Myles Murray of PMD Solutions. Take it away.
Thank you, Philip. It's wonderful to be here introducing PMD Solutions to you all. I'm Myles Murray, founder and CEO. PMD Solutions is all about making every breath count and transforming the outcome of respiratory care patients in the hospital and a home care setting. So Respiresence is made up of three key components. Number one is a single patient, single-use consumable sensor. This is the sensor that goes onto the patient's skin and measures how the chest and how the gut move during breathing. It is joined by reusable, rechargeable electronics, which processes the information and transmits the information. Both of them are combined together, and that technology is put onto the side of the chest, far to the side, to the center, to the other side. It's quite robust. And the communication is done via Bluetooth to a centralized monitor over Bluetooth technology, Wi-Fi technology, or over cellular technology. Just a few highlights about PMD Solutions as an organization today. We are the standard of care in Ireland. Any patient admitted to a hospital requiring a mask for supportive ventilation gets a Respiresence. And we are included in guidance in the UK via NICE. Last year, we turned over 40 million SEK in revenue, of which over 89% of it was reoccurring revenue. We have gross margins of 80%, and we're across 25 hospital accounts. We are returning back to healthcare systems at 300% ROI, typically with break-even within the first 3 months. We are reducing readmission rates over 80%, which is freeing up bed capacity and allowing hospitals to operate far more smoother and having a better patient experience. And in terms of the average length of stay, how long someone spends per day per bed, it's reduced by 1.5 days. So substantial impact to healthcare systems coupled with strong fundamentals of the company. And we are, of course, FDA cleared for clearance in the US. We are CE marked for sale across Europe. And we have the appropriate data security certification for making sure that hospital healthcare systems at enterprise level can purchase our technology and know that their data is secure. In terms of quarter-on-quarter growth, you can see there that we go from strength to strength. Predominantly, most of our revenue is coming from the Irish healthcare market, with more of it now coming from non-Irish healthcare accounts, with strong continued gross margins. And in terms of financial targets, we are at 39% of our 2026 target, which is to achieve 100 million SEK in reoccurring revenue. We are forecasting profitability for this year with a particular focus on protecting shareholder value, and that is primarily driven by our strong gross margins. And the growth in both profitability and top line is being driven by our accounts that are growing in the UK. And from 25 onwards, pilots that emerge in Germany and the US will see medium and longer term growth. So we are a recently listed company here in Sweden, in Nasdaq First North. We completed a reverse acquisition of an existing listed company called Promore Pharma. We took over control on December 29th, and we renamed the company to PMD Solutions at a bell ringing ceremony on January 17th. Since then, over the following weeks, we have completed a reverse share split to make sure the share account of PMD Solutions is a lot more manageable. And we have also obviously renamed the organization. The historical data today that is publicly available doesn't reflect PMD's actual historical data. And you can now find our historical data via our year-end report, which was published last week, and that is available via our website. So changes in respiratory rate are the single greatest indicator of patient decline, much greater than blood pressure, heart rate, or blood oxygen levels, the technology that measures your signals at the end of your finger. And it can be shown that 80%, a significant number of recorded respiratory rates are incorrect. And it can be also shown historically 31% of adverse events, serious patient events, were the result of poor physiological monitoring. And PMD has been able to show ourselves that 41% of that time, it could have been prevented through accurate respiratory rate monitoring. That's what we're bringing to the market. Today, the global standard of care to measure breathing is a nurse visually counting how many times your chest goes up and down. It is the only vital sign to be manually measured in today's healthcare system, yet it is the most important and the earliest indication of decline. The challenge why no technology has conquered this market segment today is motion artifact or noise causing lots of false alarms. That's what PMD has created as a solution for. That's what's driven us to be standard of care in Ireland today. Now, to talk you through the practical side of what we do for patients every single day in Ireland and across England, let's take two scenarios. Magnus is presented to Hospital A. They don't have RespireSense. They manually count breathing. So he presents to the emergency department complaining of shortness of breath. He has an infection in his chest or an exasperation because of his chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD. It's manually counted in terms of respiratory rate, which means it's probably wrong. But here's the thing. Because Magnus is breathing faster, he is normalizing all the other parameters that would ordinarily alarm. So his blood pressure looks okay, his finger probe looks okay, heart rate looks okay. But because they're not measuring how fast Magnus is breathing, they're missing the earliest sign of decline. And because Magnus looks okay, he won't be seen for another 4 hours. But unfortunately, by then, Magnus is going into respiratory failure and requires urgent intervention, which prolongs his length of stay and decreases his quality of life and costs the healthcare system more money. Magnus goes to Hospital B. He presents to the A&E department. They have RespireSense. RespireSense is put on. Magnus's breathing rate is really high. It's 35 breaths per minute. So they do the same things as at Hospital A, but they now have the correct information. They keep a watch on Magnus every hour according to their protocols. They modify Magnus's treatment and make sure it's optimized to make sure he has an optimum outcome. So RespireSense makes sure that the right patient gets the right treatment at the right time and is transforming outcomes across Ireland and England today. What makes us unique is the direct measurement of breathing, the chest and the belly. So by measuring the chest and the abdominal regions, we can remove artifacts like me talking, reading, nervousness, eating, or even walking. And because we can give accurate respiratory rate monitoring, because it's motion tolerant, we can give the earliest sign of clinical decline. And we are the only technology in the world able to do that today. RespireSense and all its embodiments have patents approved in US, Europe, China, Japan, and Hong Kong. So PMD's exciting opportunity comes from, yes, it's one technology, but it has multiple applications. So our hospital is the customer. So it's the respiratory doctors or the pulmonary physicians or the A&E physicians in the hospital setting. And today, the vast majority of our revenue that we generate come from respiratory care patients. However, we do have applications that are now emerging in emergency departments, for stroke admissions, for cardiac admissions, and patients being discharged early from hospital into the home care setting. Today, we have two key business models. One is acute hospital sales. It's where we sell our equipment to the hospital. We have 25 hospital accounts. 89% of our revenue comes from our consumable sales, with the balance coming from capital equipment, and 11% comes from renewing annual licenses, which is negligible in comparison to the volume we generate or the value we generate with consumable sensors. However, for the hospital at home market, so Magnus is being discharged early. He's going into a virtual ward or a hospital at home ward, still cared by the hospital, but just treated at home. We've actually wrapped a managed service around that offering. So we remove technology burden from the clinical nurses. We look after the devices. We train Magnus on how to use the devices. We call Magnus on Tuesday morning, Magnus, have you checked in your vital signs yet? And we make sure that it's seamless for hospital healthcare systems to treat Magnus and focus more on clinical and less on administrative tasks. We have the only virtual ward service in Ireland at the moment, and this is a very exciting emerging segment globally, with England in the EU being the furthest ahead, but obviously a mega trend in the US also. So Ireland is established, but there's still room to grow. Virtual wards is a new thing in Ireland, and we're looking to pursue that in addition to non-respiratory hospital wards. England is now a growth market for us. I'm a fellow of NHS England's Innovation Accelerator programme, and PMD is part of the Digital Health London Accelerator. We have a first reference site in Midlands in Nottingham in one hospital across 3 clinical wards, and we're now pursuing hospital-home contracts across England. The majority of our revenue that is going to start coming in on top of our foundational revenue will come from the UK. So there is a huge market opportunity for this. This is a blue ocean opportunity. We are the emerging market leaders. We are the only company in this space that's actually converted an entire healthcare system. We have estimated that the total market opportunity, or sorry, excuse me, the serviceable market opportunity for this technology is around 41 billion SEK annually. So that's the acute hospital sales. But there is a new emerging segment, which is hospital at home, and we see buckets of funding being attributed where the US have dedicated 37 billion SEK, England has dedicated just under 1 billion SEK, and Ireland a quarter of a billion SEK. But we see this activity still having strong growth with 14% compound annual growth rates. So right now, Ireland and England, there are growth markets. News on English contracts will drive our top line, get us to profitability and put us into a fantastic position for growth. But we are also starting to establish pilot sites in Germany and the US as well. And as we mature those sites, they will fund revenue for 2025 and beyond. So some just highlights about PMD Solutions to conclude. We have strong growth and strong margins, aiming for profitability in 2024 to protect shareholder value, and we have a proven ability to scale. We are strongly differentiated in our technology, and we have a large existing proof of commercialization with a fantastic, strong IP portfolio for new innovations and new products. And PMD Solutions is founder-led, with myself owning 39%. Protecting shareholder value is a core part of my role, along with driving the vision of making every breath count. Thank you so much. You can follow us on Twitter at PMD_respiratory. And of course, there's our ticker there as well. Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. That sounds very interesting. Maybe you can start with your background.
Sure. So I'm a mechanical engineer. I have a Bachelor of Engineering. Graduated in 2011. This was actually part of my undergraduate degree, where an emergency consultant said they had a need, and it was very clear that there was a huge opportunity to fill that need with a robust solution. So upon graduating, I was very fortunate to be in an ecosystem of supporting innovation and startups in particular. And for over 13 years now, I've been driving PMD Solutions.
And you came to the market in January through a reverse takeover of Promore Pharma. Why did you choose to go public?
Absolutely. We decided very early on that we were not going to build a technology to flip. We weren't interested in being acquired. We see this as an opportunity of being almost the blood pressure cuff of breathing. You know, when you think about measuring respiratory rate, this is the shape that will come to mind. And back in the early 1980s, there were 2 companies that commercialized pulse oximetry technology, Biox Medical and Nellcor, and they went on to become the market leaders 7 and 12 years thereafter. So we see PMD Solutions as an opportunity to be a market leader in this space and to be known as the sensor of choice for respiratory rate monitoring. So listing made all the sense in terms of funding that ambition and making sure that we could grow year on year.
And you are now the standard of care in Ireland. Do you expect also to be the standard of care in UK?
Yes, absolutely. So this technology is already reviewed by NICE in terms of guidance. And our virtual ward offering is already in guidance in the UK. And hospital contracts are based on adhering to guidance. So by having that guidance, we have a huge opportunity to have our technology instilled as a standard of care. For us right now, we've been incredibly lean as a company, being very pragmatic with our use of funding, and now we're at a stage where we have huge credibility from the Irish perspective, fantastic clinical evidence, and is ready now to scale this proven technology across England, Germany, the US, and beyond.
So you expect to be able to extrapolate to all the markets and use the same strategy?
Absolutely. We've been very focused on making sure what countries could we invest in regional projects that could translate into national success. And within Europe, the UK, Germany, and France are 3 markets where pilots at a local level can translate into national reimbursement. The Nordics also have the same structure, but they're regionalized. So it doesn't necessarily mean success in one region will translate to success in the second region. So there's less bang for your buck. But in terms of secondary markets, we see Poland, Spain, Italy, Austria, a host of countries that have almost all the assets that we can start investing in and growing. But just to keep in mind, when I say we're going to get pilots in the US is a huge market. So we're going to start on one coast and then move to the second coast, and then maybe down south, and then maybe up north. And they are European countries in terms of size of market in themselves. So we're going to be very pragmatic about how fast we're going to grow and very thoughtful about where we launch and what is the ambition we want to reach in the short term.
So you are not interested in partnering up for launching in the US? You want to do it by yourselves?
I've seen many companies die because they're waiting for a partner to come or a partner to get stuff done. And I'm a huge believer that healthcare is a team sport. You need partners to be successful. But what PMD has been able to achieve with a strong brand and a strong product and good evidence is a capability of doing it ourselves as a first port of call. And if we find partners along the way, we'll absolutely pull them in. But we also see opportunities with working with multinational companies that want to companion our technology with theirs because it will allow them to be more successful in treating patients while also differentiating themselves from their competitors. Patient monitoring companies, ventilation companies are an example of that.
Is there anything you want to improve with the product, or are you happy as it is right now?
Oh, it works really well. No, really happy. This is a 3rd generation device, real world tested, works incredibly well. If we had no barriers to market and this had to be on every patient tomorrow, it would work amazingly. But we do see feature enhancements. So, for example, we've worked with the European Space Agency to put a SIM card into these devices for home applications. So instead of relying on Magnus having Wi-Fi or trying to get him to connect it to his Wi-Fi, you don't have to worry about that. You just put this device on Magnus and it will just communicate. That seamless patient experience are some of the features that we will advance.
And do hospitals or you keep all the data?
So we have a very clear mandate on this. The hospitals own the data. But we do count how many breaths we're measuring as an internal metric. I think we're on about 2.5 billion at the moment. But no, the hospital owns the data. We don't own the data. But we do start collaborating with key research centers around innovation by leveraging the data in a very ethical and thoughtful way.
And besides you, you are the founder and also a large part of the shares. What other investors do you have?
So predominantly individuals. We have no institutional investors. We have no ultra high net worths, and we have no funds, and we have no VCs. And that is probably a testament that we've been very pragmatic in building value in the organization through prudent allocation of capital, whether it's for product development or commercialization. There is a huge risk with taking a lot of money early that you put it into the wrong things and that it doesn't necessarily convert into success. However, we've now overcome a lot of those. So we are pretty close to knowing that if we take on 200 million SEK, we are going to generate 100 million, 200 million, 300, 400 million SEK as a result of that. Now we're ready for funding. But we haven't planned to take on any further funding for this year. because we have a clear ambition to become profitable and to expand beyond Ireland in a more substantial way in terms of revenue. And we will be looking at an institutional round next year with the view of funding the expansion in Germany and the US.
And how many employees are you at the moment?
25 at the moment, spread across Ireland, England, Poland. We have 2 non-execs here in Sweden, and we'll grow the team linearly as the company begins to scale as well.
And do you believe to increase that exponentially when you're commercializing?
Thankfully, no. So the organization is there today, ignoring the sales component, right, can handle 100 million SEK top-line revenue very easily. But where we start to see increase in operations is going beyond 100 million and having an office in the US and an office in Germany. Then we'll see a slight increase in our OPEX. But our goal is to not only reach profitability by the end of this year, but to maintain it going forward. So we're going to be very thoughtful about OPEX, about top-line growth, and making sure PMD is protecting shareholder value.
You've mentioned a lot of markets, but not Asia. Are you waiting with that market for later?
Yes. I mean, I think Asia is a very cultural market. It would require a lot of time to be there, to make those relationships and to create those partnerships. I think anyone who's made a partnership with an Asian company or an Asian partner knows it takes time. I think we have a better and faster opportunity focusing on massive markets like the UK, Germany, and the US that will see PMD exponentially grow and become a market leader within this decade. Then Asia will come. We'll do Asia then.
And a follow-up question. Where do you see PMD in 3 years?
Still growing, simply put.
And final question, why should investors invest in PMD Solutions?
Because I think first and foremost, PMD Solutions is about making every breath count. It's a call to action for addressing a real clinical need that touches the lives of patients around the world with COPD, with cystic fibrosis, with asthma, or bad experiences in hospitals receiving the wrong care at the wrong time. I'm a huge believer that if we do this well, we will transform outcomes across hospitals and homes alike. I mean, when we talk about a patient, if we improve a patient outcome, we improve a family outcome, we improve a community outcome. So this is as much a social drive for addressing a real clinical need and making a difference as it is about making money. Fortunately, 2 can go together.
Thank you for those words, Myles Murray, and good luck.
Thank you so much, Philip. Cheers.